Yeah, welcome Jaden Money to the show. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for
welcome.
having me.
Absolutely. It's been really a pleasure to get to know you and watch your music grow over the past, year or so that you've played at the Voice and the Pen. So you're an alumni. Yeah. And we're
Officially now, yeah.
officially, yeah. And we're stoked to have you here and just chat music.
Sweet.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
we were talking before we started the official part of the podcast about where you grew up, which is like significant music country, Memphis, Tennessee, North Mississippi, Delta blues, all that sort of stuff comes out of there. I mean, I have to ask right off the bat, is that something that influences your style and your music?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think I could get away from it growing up there my whole life. And then also like my dad like playing in bands that like had that sound. I was just surrounded by that kind of influence. So if I didn't want it, it was gonna happen eventually.
Yeah. So how long have you performed? When did you start this whole career?
So the first time I ever performed in front of an audience, I was 5 years old. And my great grandma just like kind of pushed me into like the wedding singer kind of job.
yeah.
And that was where I kind of got my feet wet in performing. And terrible stage fright, like just didn't come to me naturally. But like that kind of just like was a catalyst for like trying out for choir and like middle school. And then like, you know, whenever I became an adult, I started going to play like open mics around like Memphis and stuff around town and like building a fan base there. And so I've just kind of like ran with it since then.
Yeah. So when did
That
you
was
start
real
playing
little.
an instrument?
I started playing the piano when I was 13. And then I picked up the guitar at 17.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I wanted something like really simple to like just strum some chords for like background noise to write my songs. Really, I just wanted something to write songs with. So,
You started writing poetry, right?
when I was like 12 or 13 was about the same time I was starting to play the piano. But it's funny, I wasn't like writing songs. I was just writing poetry and like playing an instrument. And I kind of just like combined those two muses together.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So in your writing process now, fast forward from when you had this convergence of being a performer and a singer with adding an instrument, becoming an instrumentalist, creating songs, making musical sense of your poetry. What's your writing process like now? How has it changed since then?
It's a lot more free flowing. I used to try to kind of like micromanage myself too much and like too much control into like my process. And now I kind of just let my emotions like kind of take the reins. And I don't really, if I have like a very vague idea, I'll kind of just like play with that for a little while until I try to structure it into an actual song. Whereas before I'm like, this is the concept, this is what we have to do, this is the song.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you get sounds like ideas come to you, and then you will toy with them, and I get that. Sometimes I'll have lines, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like a line in a verse, if that's the chorus, if it's a hook. I don't know where to put it.
Title,
It's useful,
yeah.
but I don't know what to do with it yet.
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Something I noticed right off the bat when you performed for the first time, I think, on Voice in the Pen was you reminded me a little bit of Jewel. Her style of writing is very poetic. Something that I noticed, and she was a big influence for me when I was 14, and she had her first song on the radio. And I think I've told you this before, but there's another indie artist named Anna Nalick that
Yeah, I do remember that.
that you remind me a little bit of vocally, but also lyrically. Just it's interesting how you can like pull different artists from your head that are like, oh, this person lyrically or stylistically reminds me of this artist, because that just goes to show that everybody has like a little bit of their own style, but can emulate different artists.
Do you? That's an interesting question, though. I mean, we're talking songwriting, and I think for me, influences on my songwriting often come through playing covers, right? So there's music that inspires you, and when you internalize it and absorb it, you absorb a little music lesson from the writer and performer of that song originally. Do you perform covers?
I do.
Yeah.
Some, not as often as I used to. When I first got into performing, it was just strictly covers.
Right.
But now that I've kind of like started to find my voice, it feels more rewarding to play original music. And I'm still influenced by covers, obviously,
Sure.
but like it's something. it feels different about the originals. It feels like not as soul sucking. Do you know what I mean? Like more like less for like entertaining, but like more for like self reward, if that makes sense.
Do you write? Is writing kind of a therapeutic process for you? It is, I think, for a lot of people. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been my therapy since as long as I can remember. It's a way to like get my feelings on paper, but also like to add like a sound to it. It's just kind of soothing, instead of just like keeping it all like piled in my head. That's
Yeah.
always been a thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I've talked to a lot of people about it being so therapeutic, because it's like journaling. It's like, and this came to me earlier when we were talking to Jesse for the podcast. Another Anna Nalick reference for me. I listened to her, I don't know, it was like, I feel like early 2000s, when I was really like into her stuff. And she has a line in one of her songs it's called 3 a.m. It was like her only, I think her only like radio hit that she's
I
had.
think so.
Do you know what line I'm going to say?
I'm like going through it in my head. Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay.
Let's hear the line. I think I might
the
know
line
it.
is, "These words are my diary screaming out loud."
Mm-hmm.
And when she said those words, and then it follows with, "And I know that you'll use them however you want to," was such a powerful line to me. And just talking about writing being therapeutic is like, it's just so accurate for so many of us, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's very consistent. I remember one of my favorite Dave Matthews Band songs has a line in it that says, "Somebody's broken heart becomes your favorite song." So also
Yes.
super therapeutic. Love or hate. People definitely have opinions about the Dave Matthews Band. I'm a fan. Sorry if that bothers
I'm a fan
anybody.
as well.
I am also a fan. I love Dave
I
Matthews.
mean, there's definitely music that I'm like, I appreciate what you're doing, but it's not necessarily my thing. I like his writing. But yeah, I think it's, keeping organized around that is important for me as a writer, because I don't just write. I don't, it's like, I think at first I thought I would just sit down and songs would just start pouring out. Like you just start, I'm going to write a song today. And you can, that is an approach to songwriting. But I also find that just journaling at all literally helps, like getting any sort of prose, any sort of words on paper or voice recorded or whatever, but then having the discipline to kind of come back to it and go, okay, let's unpack that. Where does this work? Where does it not work?
Absolutely.
Have you ever had like an experience where you write a song and you're like, I don't really like that song, but I like that line. Let's write another song.
Every day. Every day. I have so many unused auto recordings on my phone. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that I will probably never use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you got the guitar, started writing, everything before that, it sounds like was kind of wedding singer oriented. So like you were singing covers, straight covers all the time.
Right.
Recognizable music for people. How long did it take you to start getting into performing your own music and performing covers with a guitar and like doing the whole bit as a performer?
Probably around like 19 or 20-ish was when I started like, I joined this band. They wanted someone to do harmonies, and they liked one of my original songs, and so we got to perform it at the New Daisy
Okay.
in Memphis, and that was surreal because it just like, I don't know, it felt like, I don't know, it like, I enjoy the covers, like I enjoy like entertaining people, but it felt like for once like people were like actually like seeing me and like hearing me like for like who I am as a person rather than just like what I can offer like as entertainment, if that makes sense.
Big distinction.
So,
Huge distinction.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that anytime you're singing, if you're really into what you're singing and performing, you're definitely sharing a part of yourself. But when you take it that next level and it's like, yeah, this was once this random thought that was in my head, and I just decided to spend some significant amount of time, crafting it into this thing that I'm going to present to you as part of me, and I hope you like it.
Right. Hope you like it. Hope you don't hate it.
Yeah.
Like,
Because you never know if it's relatable. Sometimes it's like you feel like sometimes you feel alone in the way you feel, and you're like, I'm gonna put this in a song, and I hope people are gonna like this, and then most of the time it's gonna be relatable to people. We just don't realize that until we put it out there.
yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I mean, the songwriting topics, the methods of songwriting are pretty broad. The topics are pretty straightforward. My heart was broken. I'm mad. I'm happy. I saw something beautiful and want to describe it. And generally, I want to make a funny statement in a song somehow, or several funny.
Mm.
But that's the
Yes.
nature of humanity. I think it's cool as songwriters we get to be like part stand-up comedian too.
Yep.
It's fun.
All
Yeah.
good. It's interesting watching comedians, the number of those folks that play guitar and will have a guitar on
Mhm.
stage with them and use that as part of their bit too. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
yeah, right.
I'm curious, and I don't think we've really asked anyone about this yet. Have you taken any sort of vocal lessons? I noticed, like, in your styling, you have a specific way that you sing that I don't
Mhm.
hear a lot of people sing.
Mm.
Um, I can't really describe it without like playing something of yours, but just going up into really high notes and like kind of like oohs and ahs thrown throughout your songs. But I mean, I'm just curious. Have you ever taken vocal lessons, or you just like?
The most I could say that I've taken lessons was when I was trying out for the opera program at Ole Miss. I was gonna be a music major at one point, and my choir director would have me after school for like little practice, like with the aria that she chose for me. But other than that, like, not really, just self-taught.
Well, now that you mentioned opera, I feel like that kind of like shows through in some of the stuff that you
Oh,
sing.
Hmm.
thank you. That's a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
compliment.
Feel that you're powerful on stage.
Yeah,
There's a
you are.
lot of energy coming out of you when you're performing.
Thank you.
Particularly original stuff. It's very impactful.
Thank you
And
so
you do
much.
play. I feel like you play in a lot of like dropped tunings.
Yes.
I've noticed
Drop
as well.
C sharp or D flat, whichever. Tomato,
Is
tomato.
that like something that you do because you want to make a different sound? Because it's sometimes it's as writers and writing chord progressions, sometimes it feels like, gosh, can I write anything else other than like no more GCDs? Like, it all sounds the
145,
same. Like, how
145.
can I change this?
Right.
Is that something that like inspired you to drop the tuning?
Honestly, it kind of happened by accident. I used to hang out with these crazy Mississippi hippies, I guess you could say. And there was this girl I used to know, and she was really into Tool. And she's like, "Hey, I got this really cool tuning that I just came up with. It's really like wicked. Like I haven't heard anyone use this." And I was like, "Okay, let me try it out." And so I wrote "Fly," the song that I'm coming out with in March. And this was like over 6 years ago. And like ever since then, I was just like, I guess this worked. So I'm just gonna keep writing more songs in this tuning. So yeah,
Cool.
here I am.
Awesome.
Well, we're excited to hear some of your music. You've got some songs for us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. It'll take us a couple of minutes to kind of change over. And also TK will be editing this. So if there's anything else that we should ask you or that you want to talk about, we can do that before you get started, or we can change the room over and get you ready to play.
You said you have a single coming out in March called "Fly"? Somehow I missed that. I always see your social media posts, but I did not see. Where are you recording that?
So I recorded this with my buddy Blake at Celamaris Records, and it was a really like kind of last minute decision. Like I had a little bit of extra money saved up from Christmas, and I was like, I kind of just I've never really been interested in like recording myself, just because like the process of like producing and everything, it just kind of just like gave me a headache. So I was like, oh, this is kind of just something that I wanted to do for me, just to like have my music out there. So many people have been asking me for years, like, when are you going to put out stuff on Spotify? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I kind of just wanted to have something to just get my foot in the door, I guess.
Awesome.
So what we're going to do is we're going to move the table and shift some things around so we can
Okay.
get the right camera angles for you.
Awesome.
And, so hang on. And thank you for all your hard work, TK. You're doing such an awesome job.
I cry, what about me? What about my family? What about my family? When I flee, I am numb to anything, somewhere I can hide away. When I flee, I succumb to everything. Finally, I feel no pain. Whispers to me, come escape. I cry, what about me? What about my family? What about my family? When I flee, I am numb to anything, somewhere I can hide away. When I flee, I succumb to everything. Finally, I feel no pain. When I flee, I am numb to anything, somewhere I can hide away. When I flee, I succumb to everything. Finally, I feel no pain. Shiver coursing through my veins. Pull the trigger, release all your pain. Numb the wound with fancy things. Sadistic demon with angel's wings. And you've got so much shame. Always something to gain. Lying for fame. Sold your soul for vanity. That's just the way we're made. Always do what they say. Pawn in a losing game. Pieces always rearrange. shiver coursing through my skin. Pull the trigger, release all your sins. That's just the way you